Real estate would be easy money if it weren't for the taxes. So if you're considering buying real estate in Portugal, it's important that you understand the basics to avoid making very expensive mistakes. So join me as we explore real estate taxes in Portugal from Lisbon's newest bairro, Prata, Riverside, on the east side of Lisbon, along the banks of the Rio Tejo. Hey everybody, nobody likes paying taxes, but they're a fact of life, especially in Portugal. Let's walk through the different types of real estate taxes, how they are calculated, and when they're due so you know what to expect when buying real estate in Portugal. Today I'm in Prata, Riverside, Lisbon's newest neighborhood, literally. Located on the site of a former industrial area known as the Bairro de Prata, this area is being completely transformed into a complete neighborhood with about 850 apartments, over 95 retail storefronts, new parks and playgrounds, and a fantastic riverfront boardwalk. We're located just north of Marvila and just below Parque de Nações. Folks are already living here and they have a couple more buildings to go before they're finished. They anticipate construction to be completed within a year or so. So quick note before we begin talking about taxes, I am not a tax professional, so please don't take anything I say here as the final answer. Taxes are very complicated and every situation, especially yours, is unique. So please consult with an appropriate tax professional before making big decisions like buying or selling real estate in Portugal. I have a great tax advisor here that works with a lot of expats and immigrants, and I'm happy to refer you to them. Now, there are four main taxes related to real estate. Most are comparable to how things work in the US. There's two taxes when you purchase, one while you own, and capital gains taxes after you sell. Now, the purchase taxes are called IMT and stamp duty. They're different, but they're related. These are paid by the buyer and are similar in spirit to what we call, in California at least, transfer tax. In the US, transfer taxes are usually paid by the seller, but in Portugal, they're paid by the buyer. Now, for a median price home in general in Lisbon or Porto, you should budget between 6 to 8% of the purchase price for these taxes. That's paid at closing, paid by the buyer. Now, stamp duty is the easy one to calculate. It's 0.8% of the sales price, easy peasy. So let's use an example of a 500,000 euro purchase. You'll be taxed at 8%. But then a deduction of 13,000 and almost a half is applied, bringing your IMT tax bill to 26,500 euros. Plus the 0.8% stamp duty of 4,000 brings your total tax bill to just over 30,000 and a half. There's some change in there, but I'm trying to keep things simple. So the effective tax rate on a 500,000 euro purchase is 30,000 and a half, or 6.1% after all the calculations are finished. Now, if it's a €1 million purchase price, the total tax for IMT and stamp duty is 68,000, and there's no deductions. Still, that makes your effective tax rate 6.8%. This is why we estimate buyers to plan for 6 to 8% transfer tax in addition to your down payment. The table is slightly different for investment properties and second homes, but the formula is more or less the same, and it comes to still within that 6 to 8% range. Now, on higher value homes, the IMT rate tops out at 7.5%, plus the 0.8% stamp duty. So effective tax rate's still in that 6 to 8%. For rustic properties, or called farmland, IMT is a flat 5% plus stamp duty, so 5.8. So yeah, it's a little confusing and it's highly variable. There's a link to a calculator in the notes below if you want to play around with it. It's totally riveting stuff. I'm really grateful that you're watching. It really means a lot to me. If you're getting value out of this video and this series, please hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just talking to myself over here. So I try to publish a new video every week, and your engagement keeps the algorithm happy and keeps me motivated to make more. Now let's talk about property taxes, or IMI. Now, coming from California, where property taxes were insane, it was a welcome relief for me and my husband to see our property tax bill for our new home. So property taxes are paid in trimesters, depending on how much you owe. If you owe more than 500 euros, you can pay in 3 installments, May, August, and November. The tax rate varies by municipality, but by law, they're limited between 0.3% and 0.45%. Lisbon, for example, is on the low end at 0.3, and Mafra is on the high end at 0.45. So these are taxes based on the asset value, or what they call VPT, which is Valor Patrimonial Tributario. They calculate the baseline values based on a fixed value per square meter. Then they add and subtract based on location, condition, amenities, and age. High value properties can also trigger an additional property tax called AIMI if the VPT exceeds 1.2 million for couples or 600,000 for singles. I know this is confusing in a lot of numbers, but interestingly, the purchase price is not a factor in the assessed value for property taxes. So for example, my husband and I bought a house in Azeitão, about 30 minutes south of Lisbon. We paid 575,000 euros for it. It's about 142 square meters, a little over 1,500 feet, has a pool, air conditioning, and garage, about 750 square meters of land, where the house takes up about 20% of the land. Now, the asset value for our 575,000 euro purchase is only on 120,000, which is 20% of what we paid. So the property taxes for us, as an example, are 0.3% times 118,000, which is 356 euros per year. Considering we left a house in San Francisco that was about the same size, but on a much smaller lot and not as updated, we were paying more than 60 times that amount. So even though transfer tax is high for the buyer and it can be a bit of a sticker shock, remember it's a one-time cost, and the holding costs are very, very, very low, especially if you're coming from the States. Now let's talk about taxes when you sell or capital gains. Now, capital gains, as you might know, is simply the difference between your sale price and your purchase price, plus any documented improvements. When I say documented improvements, I mean with official receipts. Portugal loves their receipts, so be sure to keep them for any improvements that you do, or they won't be counted. So whether you're a tax resident in Portugal or not, only 50% of the gain is taxed at progressive rates, meaning the more you make, the more you're taxed. Now, there's some very valuable exemptions in here, especially if you're a homeowner. If the property you're selling is your primary residence, you can reinvest the full gain into another home 36 months after you sell or 24 months before you buy and avoid capital gains completely. And yes, this rollover relief applies to homes purchased anywhere in the EU. Just remember the UK is no longer part of the EU, so it doesn't count. And for those of you over 65, there's one more option. Instead of reinvesting in another property, you can reinvest some or all of that gain into qualifying long-term savings or pension products and avoid that tax as well. So what do you think? Are taxes better, worse, or about the same as expected? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. To get more tips like these and exclusive access to get all your questions answered, sign up at our website, portugalstepbystep.com, or just like and subscribe to keep the content coming.